If you've been on the World Wide Web at any point over the last 24 hours, I'm sure you've seen hashtag SaveTF2. It's a Twitter hashtag that's been trending for a while now. It has like 300,000 individual tweets about it. It's become the most talked about thing since the Bible, honestly. And I'm sure most of you know what it's about, but I'm going to go ahead and explain it all anyway. SaveTF2 is about the game Team Fortress 2. It came out in 2007, it's a Valve game, and even though the game's 15 years old, older than half the people who use Twitter, it has still maintained a very active and healthy community, always averaging over 50,000 players per month. Which is actually a huge number. Most new releases don't average those player numbers. Like Halo Infinite's got like 5k left, Battlefield 2042's got like 5 left, and those came out only a few months back. TF2 is just a game that has stood the test of time and remains today to be an extremely fun multiplayer experience. But unfortunately, over the last few years, it's been left out in the rain to fester and die by Valve. And it's been plagued by a lot of problems, which I'll talk about in a moment, but no matter how many times the community's brought up all of their concerns to Valve, it's fallen on deaf ears. When you mention Team Fortress 2 to Valve, it's like they have dementia and don't know what you're talking about. They do their best to forget they ever made this game. It's like they're ashamed of it, almost. There hasn't been any meaningful content updates to the game in years. I believe the last time I checked, it was 1,600 days ago since the last major update. So it's been a little minute. They have, however, added a few cosmetic items every now and then, as well as once in a blue moon patches, which come out of nowhere and are like fucking jump scares for the community when they happen. But for the most part, Valve seems to have flushed it down the toilet saying, we don't want to play with this toy anymore, and have just left it in an unplayable state. Because 2 years ago is when it really started to become really bad. The game is plagued by bots, where when you go into any game, you are very likely to have bots on the other team which pick the sniper class and insta-kill you. And there's nothing you can do about it besides go to like a community server. Or, I actually remember about a year ago, there was a service you could purchase where you could buy your own bodyguard bots to fight the bots in lobbies. So you'd buy bots from a service that would protect you from bots in your games. That's how bad the game had become. And it's been that way for years. No matter how many times the community begs Valve to do anything, they have done nothing, which is why hashtag SaveTF2 was created. A last-ditch Hail Mary to finally try and get some kind of attention from Valve to at least let the community know that they're aware of the problem and are actively trying to fix it. Because again, even though the game's 15 years old, it maintains an extremely healthy player base, still one of the most played multiplayer games on Steam to this day. Now, of course, half of those players may not actually have a pulse. It probably is a lot of the AI that's infiltrated the game, fucking Skynet there and taken over. But it's still a very large and dedicated community of players. And since Valve is still actively hosting the game on their platform, they still allow you to download the game. At the very least, Valve owes it to have that game be in a playable state. Until the day they decide to shut it down and stop having it on Steam, they have to at least have the game work. They still make a ton of money from Team Fortress 2 hat sales and crate keys and all of that shit, so they need to at least have the game be a playable fucking experience, I would think. Now, the hashtag SaveTF2 movement was actually successful. Team Fortress 2's official Twitter account came out of hibernation to make one tweet to at least let people know that they're alive, there's somebody in the department somewhere that's still breathing, and they managed to dust off the old login information and post this tweet, first one since 2020, but it's something. It's acknowledgement. It's a step in the right direction. Now I want to dive into analyzing the problem firsthand. I saw Mudahar in his video go on a fresh account right into TF2 casual and immediately falling into bot lobbies off rip. And I wanted to try it myself to see if the same thing would happen to me, because it's been happening to pretty much everyone that's tried to play the game over the last couple years. When they try and queue up into a public lobby, they just get bots that immediately ruin the experience and drive people away. Now, for those that aren't super aware, when I say bots, I mean that it's just actually bots. It's not somebody that's just cheating with an aimbot or something. It is people that have programmed like entire bot farms to go into these public lobbies just to insta-kill everyone and ruin it, to like actually just ruin the game. There's nothing to be gained for it from them, except to drive the players away from playing it. It's fucking wild. Now before hopping in for my investigation, I'd like to thank OperaGX for sponsoring the video. Thanks OperaGX for sponsoring today's video. OperaGX is my go-to internet browser. It is just by far the most efficient out there. It doesn't just use all of your computer's resources for no reason, doesn't tank performance when playing a game or anything, and it's just super customizable. You can have animated backgrounds, you can have all kinds of incredibly fun stuff to make OperaGX yours and make it feel unique to anyone else out there. They also have extensions and add-ons of their own, so all of the extensions that you're used to you can also find on OperaGX as well. OperaGX also has the ability for you to put your messengers on the side of the browser, so that way you can just have the messages there and you can talk to people while browsing without having to flip through tabs or different screens or anything like that. So it's all just super convenient right there at your fingertips. With OperaGX, there's something called GX Profiles, which lets you create a completely custom browser that's perfectly suited for any activity you do online. So for example, streaming, if you're worried about maybe showing private information, you can edit it to do configuration streaming. There's just so much that you can customize to make it suit what you want. And there's even something a little fun OperaGX has done by setting up a Minecraft server for the GX Discord community. And they have 4 maps in Minecraft that are suited for SMP, duels, bridges, and maybe even survival. If you're interested in getting started with OperaGX, you can click the link in the description below to get started for free. So I logged in for the first time in years. Team Fortress 2 actually used to be my most played game on Steam back in 2011-2012, but I took a long break from it. And this is the first time I've been on in a long time. I'm just randomly queuing into public lobby, right off rip, fresh. And I expected this to go just like every other video I've watched on the current state of TF2. I expected to immediately queue into a lobby dominated by bots, but I didn't. In fact, I'm sure the players thought I was the bot because my aim with the sniper was so fucking nutty. I thought it'd be fun to try and counter-snipe the bots, but since I didn't get any, I just ended up stomping. And this actually continued for about 5 or 6 games, and I think what happened is I got extremely lucky because there were so many new players that came in because of SaveTF2 that I ended up queuing up with real players who were doing the same thing I was. Either that or like my MMR was too high for bots to join. I don't know if that's a real thing, but I mentioned it on stream and some people said that might have been the case. I played a lot of TF2, like I said, for a long time, so I probably did have high MMR if that's something that they consider for casual lobbies. I don't know, but that could have been another factor if that's something that's taken into account in the game. But regardless, I think the most likely answer for why I wasn't getting into bot lobbies when it's such a rampant problem is just because of how many new players came in over the last 24 hours. It just flooded out the bots and real lobbies got made. Now, after about 15-ish minutes, I did queue into a game with my first bot, and it was just as advertised from everything I read and everything I saw. It was a bot that was noise spamming the mic with, I believe it was just a YouTube video on loop, and it was a bot that could insta-kill everyone on the map pretty much at all times whenever there was any kind of sightline.
So, you know the game TF2, right? You know, like, one of the best games around. Valve, the people who made it, kind of gave up on it. And I, for the life of me, cannot tell you why. So, because of it, there's a TF2. And I was like, damn, this is actually kind of awesome. There is a lot of people. The community isn't toxic. The thing that's ruining TF2 right now is the bots. Omegatronic, Magic. It's ruining.
Now you can see he's killing people without ever looking at them. He just insta-flicks and then right back to just looking all fucking dazed and confused because the bot is programmed to insta-kill everything that moves on the map. You can see why this would be game ruining when there's entire lobbies of bots just like this. It's basically just bots fighting each other in this unholy war, and occasionally a human being accidentally queues into it, and it's awful. One bot can ruin an entire lobby. Imagine multiple in every game, every time you try and play. That's been the state of TF2 for about 2 years now. But I wanted to go a bit deeper and see if I could find one of these lobbies, because today it seemed pretty difficult just because of how many players were coming back to it or trying it out. So I was getting legitimate lobbies. I wasn't actually finding these, but I know they exist because I've seen so many posts and so much footage of them. I just wanted to experience it firsthand. In every single game I joined over the course of an hour, there was at least one bot per game. Now, luckily, a lot of times what would happen is the bot would get kicked, but unfortunately, as the game would go on, another bot would sometimes just join and get kicked again eventually, but just a massive headache. So I guess that lucky streak I had at the beginning had fizzled out, because every game I joined over the course of like an hour did have at least one bot there to start. And the worst case was I joined a lobby that had, I think it was 3 bots total, and one of them was of course doing the mic spam as well, and that one was truly miserable.
Look at him go. Daddy's little simpleton. Okay, farm boys.
You can see in the kill feed it is nothing but bots headshotting each other over and over and over again. This was the worst lobby I joined. But like I said, over the course of that hour after the first like 5 or 6 matches with no bots, I got a bot in pretty much every match. At least in the beginning, until they would get kicked or until one would rejoin and get kicked. But there were bots, a lot of them. The game is not in a super fun state, but I know right now it's better than it has been just because so many people flock to the game with the SaveTF2 hashtag. So even if Valve really takes their sweet time fixing this, which God knows they probably will, I don't even know if they have game developers left on staff anymore. They do so little for their games. I don't know who's there coding anymore. But even if they take a long time fixing the problem, I think this massive influx of players has been a really great thing for the game itself anyway, for the health of the game, because with so many players that all went to the game, the casual lobbies filled up with so many players that are actually there to play and kick out the bots. And the community servers have been popping off as well because of so many new bodies in the game, and that's great. So there's a lot of options to play it now, so it's a little bit better than it was before the hashtag. So overall, I'd say that hashtag SaveTF2 has been very successful, and hopefully Valve will finally fix the game and get it into a playable state. And who knows, maybe they'll be feeling really generous and actually deliver new content to the game. That would be fucking wild, because the community has been starving and Valve has not even decided to piss in their mouth to give them a little something for the game. They're doing below the bare minimum for Team Fortress 2, and I'm hoping that that will change at some point, because the game still is super fun and super popular. That's about it. See ya.